enough time. But what does Apple say?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Probably a minute and a half.
Are any of you going to be speaking?
I got a minute now. We'll talk, so I might just switch.
Oh, it did right there.
According to.
Always.
I wanted to know if Apple was ahead of Microsoft or behind.
Depends on who you
Fashion,
ask.
fashionably behind.
Where's the speaker at?
Right here.
Oh, perfect. Tim, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Through the speaker.
You hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Colleen is coming, correct?
She is not.
She is not.
No,
Okay.
she's not. Liam did say he was coming.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're live.
Okay.
Got meeting to
We'll
order.
sit and make people nervous. 6
Uncomfortable
o'clock now.
silence.
I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of action is the consent agenda. The recommended action is approve the following items, which are included in the consent agenda. 5A, meeting minutes from the April 5th Board of Education meeting. 7G, donation acceptance. 7H, donation acceptance. And 7I, the special education packet. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any extractions, or is everybody all set with those 4 items? Yeah.
You're gonna abstain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Five yes, one abstention.
5 yes, 1 abstention, 0 no's. So the motion passes. Next is the go to the cause, and this is the part of the meeting where the Board of Education encourages public participation. I believe most of you have heard this spiel before, but we allow public participation for a period not exceeding 30 minutes. Persons wishing to address the board should please state their name, brief description of the topic to be discussed. Each person must sign in. Presentation should be brief. As a rule, public participation will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Again, this is part of the meeting that you will express your opinions. Please don't expect an answer, but if you have any questions, we'll get back to you with responses. So, is there anybody who would like to speak? You didn't make me go through that for nothing.
And I did check the email.
Okay. Last chance. We do have a good of the cause at the end of the meeting if you are so inclined. So. Reports, budget performance report. Dana.
Right, so you should see the document that I provided through the month of March. We had a favorable month in terms of revenue, up by $412,000 from last year. Unfavorable in terms of expenditures, and that was a difference of $332,000. But year to date, if you look at it, both revenue and expenditures are in that favorable side in terms of collecting revenue based off of last year. We're still about 94% this year of revenue generated versus 97.9% from last year. And expenditures, we're sitting at just under 65% at this point compared to 69% of last year. Still favorable. We're still projecting at this point a surplus of a little more than $500,000 is what we're projecting right now. If you'll even look there, at this point in time, we are actually projecting a little more revenue than what we budgeted. But as I've said, each month, everything is always about a snapshot, and it's based off of when revenue comes in. And this time of year, that's when we start seeing our revenue come in more so from the states and other things like that. So at this point, it's still a projection, but at this point, it's a projection where we'll be generating a little more revenue than we did last year. But overall, we're still looking good for the current year.
Great.
Questions on?
Where's the, when does it come up, the unassigned fund balance? Is that in the next report?
This would not, yeah, the unassigned fund balance does not appear on these budget performance reports.
Okay,
You're looking for a number?
yeah, looking for a number.
You can get that out, can't you?
It is approximately $3 million in terms of unassigned fund balance at this point.
Okay,
Or are you referring to what we budgeted
No.
for the approval? Yeah,
no, unassigned.
unassigned. It's about, I want to say about 19%. Of
The
our
difference
budget.
with, what's the difference, any difference between what it was last year and it is this year?
Last year, I think we were sitting at about 14% of
Okay.
our budgeted amount. So if you remember, rolling into this current year, we rolled over about $900,000. The year prior was about $1.3 million that we rolled over. So yeah, we're sitting at a little over, I want to say it's like $3.3 million in unassigned fund balance. Total, because you throw in all of our reserves, that we add in the restricted fund balance.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
my question, I was just to the cash at hand.
okay.
Thank you.
Treasury report up next.
Please, if there are no questions.
So you're looking at it, our insured cash sweep, cash on, not really cash on hand, but basically money where it gets sent around the country in terms of gaining a little interest. We're still sitting pretty well there, about $13 million. $2.5 million of that is tied directly to the capital fund project, which we'll do away with by the end of the year. Whatever's left, we will give back, and that will actually reduce our debt service going forward. That's something we had talked about in the past. We were definitely under budget for the capital project. So as we go, I think June comes closer, that's when our band is up and we'll be rolling over and turning everything into a bond. So right now, and that's where you can see some of these accounts there, talk about our restricted accounts. These are our reserve accounts. So we're looking at about $15.4 million sitting in our bank accounts in various subcategories. Have about $500,000 in outstanding checks from last month. Over 300,000 of that is tied directly to a BOCES payment. And I think we had checks go out towards the end of March. That's why that is sitting so high. If you remember the previous month, it was like $30,000. It's one of the lowest outstanding months that we had. But all said and done, we're still looking pretty good in terms of again, goes back to our cash. Questions on the treasury report? I think I keep going.
You keep going. Operation Committee report.
Yes. So let's start talking about transportation. So a little overview in terms of what the transportation department is doing since we last reported. We actually, just before break at the end of March, they had the opportunity to test drive a new bus, a new company type of deal. All of our buses currently are international buses. And we had the ability to have a bus for Bluebird. And they gave us a bus for a week. All the drivers had the opportunity to try it out and really liked it. The reason we're kind of exploring other options, we very much like gas. And Leonard, and at this point we have all gas as opposed to diesel. A lot fewer maintenance costs with the gas as opposed to the diesel. And we were told that this is the last year that International will be selling gas, and they're going back strictly to diesel. So Nikki reached out to find out other options. Bluebird is still going to carry the gas bus. So they tried it out, really liked it, and we are encouraging them. So once the vote is taken and if the public approves of the bus proposition, we send out a bid, and we are going to encourage Bluebird to submit a bid proposal for the 2 buses this year. I mean, it's open to any bus company. We send it out, we put it in the paper. Typically, we only get one, which is in the past Leonard's, but anyone can bid on these. So we're encouraging it just to take a look and see. Competition is good when it comes to pricing. But we were talking beforehand, when it comes to transportation, right now, there is we're under a 5-year window, 2027, where districts have to start purchasing electric buses. That was in the most recent budget. So that's something that districts are going to start to explore, is obviously the feasibility of that. And when I looked into it about 1.5 years ago, electric bus was running about $500,000. We're paying about $115,000 to $120,000 per bus right now. So you can see that that's a considerable change in.
We should
the
be
cost.
stockpiling them.
So that'll be something that right now we have to really start to look at, and we have 5 years to kind of put a plan in place to see what it's actually going to cost us. Doesn't matter if we're purchasing them or leasing them, it's still, it's the purchase price, and we just lease them for, 5 years typically. So it's something that we'll be looking at going down the road. Picked up a second substitute driver within the last month. So we have now 2 pretty consistent substitute drivers that we can use, and we have been utilizing them pretty well. So we are very fortunate that this current year, we've been in a good spot as drivers. A lot of districts around here have not been as fortunate. So we have maintained healthy drivers, as well as picked up some substitute drivers, so that we've been able to maintain a normal transportation schedule all year long. This next month will be the test, because spring sports are always big in terms of travel. In a very small, we have about a month worth of sports games going on, and we'll probably have 3 to 4 buses out at any given time. So let's hope that continues on. We're still down 1 outside crew member. So far, it has not had a negative impact, but the person is still on National Guard deployment. So not anticipate him coming back until July 1st. But as of right now, we've been able to maintain it by having people fill in when needed and stuff like that. So right now it's we're managed. At the middle high school, water leak in the middle school office. Miss Lindsay, her office.
Been evicted.
Been evicted. So that just happened, I think, over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I came in Sunday from break and try and get myself organized for Monday morning, and walked into a flooded office. So Bobby and his crew stepped in, and we couldn't find the leak on Sunday, but they found it on Monday.
So I believe that the leak has been repaired. If you go into the office now, you'll see the sheetrock ripped out and all that. Obviously trying to,
Lovely.
pull out all the wet stuff.
Smell happening.
Did contact our insurance company to put in a claim. That way we can have an adjuster come in, take a look at it, also do a mold assessment, just because there is insulation there in the sheetrock, and just to make sure that everything is safe before moving forward to putting it back together. So I guess one thing nice is you'll get new carpet
Yeah.
in your office.
I
So
was hoping to get the wall moved out just a little bit.
is that a result of the new roof as well?
No, it was a leak in basically, it looked like it's a heating line.
Yeah, it was,
Insulation.
it was in
Okay.
one of the elbows. It was one of the old elbows.
Yep.
It was in the upper corner. Bobby's theory is that with the new system, the water pressure is greater. And so our old pipes that it's still running through are not handling it as well. And so it leaked, and then it kind of came down into a metal piece that was on the bottom that was holding the sheetrock, double sheetrock wall up. And then and they don't know how long it was running for. So
But yeah, so that's in the process of being repaired. The elevator just before break was repaired here. It was down for a couple of weeks. The motor was replaced. A gasket was also replaced. We ended up switching companies. We actually went with the company that we brought in towards the end of the capital project to replace the cylinder of the elevator. McGee is its name. And it ended up being like a third of the original quote from the company that was our service contractor. Ended up sending them down to the public library because they had an elevator issue and they were able to repair it, their elevator the same day and get it up and running and save them a considerable amount. So it is up and running, and so far so good. So, but by the time this is all done, the elevator here will be all brand new.
Again. Brand new again, right?
Brand new again.
Again.
Well, and during the capital project, it really just fixed the cab. And we ended up having to replace the cylinder, and we went with a different company there because of the cost of it. It was considerably cheaper to go with McGee elevator as opposed to the one that was subcontracted. But the motor itself was not replaced. So that was not part of the original capital project. But the whole cab is new. And now the motor and the cylinder and the gasket was replaced. So all new parts there. Elementary school, they found that their generator is in need of repair, and that just got put in for work, a couple $1,000 worth of repair. But as Dave says down there, it's been about 12, 13 years, and things like this need to get changed out. So nothing unusual, but will be done. It happens up here with this generator as well. As well as we are in the process of securing quotes to get a fence to put around the playground down there. Surprise, surprise, some fencing companies don't work through the winter, so we had to wait for the springtime to get so we can get 3 quotes, but I have 2 quotes so far, and that's going to be in that $20,000 to $30,000 range if we want to put a fence there. Up here in the middle high school, we're in the process of replacing the dishwasher. The irony there is the dishwasher here got put in at the last capital project, and the old one got moved down to the elementary school. Well, the one at the elementary school is still working well. The one here that's been 20 years now has died. So that we're in the process of getting that replaced. So once it comes in, it will be replaced. And by the end of this month, we're going to be doing a insurance review. Utica National reached out to kind of do a walkthrough. It's been a few years since they've done an actual physical walkthrough of our dwellings, and so now it's our time. So it's nothing unusual. They do the walkthrough to make sure that what we say is listed on our insurance policy is actually here and all that. So, but that's good. My time is up.
Fence,
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
is that going to go under the capital expenditure,
Probably
or is that grasping a bit?
won't be able to be put in time to use
Okay.
capital funds, but is really coming out of the desire from the special ed departments, CSE chair,
Sure,
to have it fenced in because of its safety needs.
I agree with
So,
it. I was just,
Yes.
it'd be nice if, I hate giving money back. So,
Yes, I agree. Unfortunately, we're kind of in that window now where,
Right,
in
it's
order
getting
to
close.
submit everything to the state for final approval, we're down to, a few weeks, but we did get some additional ARP funding for special ed that we might be able to use for this purpose. We ended up getting about $50,000 for specifically for special ed through the ARP funding, in addition to the $716,000 that we got.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, about the pipes, old pipes, is that gonna be an ongoing problem, do we think? And is there a way to get that evaluated to see what we're headed into?
I think unfortunately, there's a hard way to evaluate because like with this case, it was inside the wall.
Sure.
So we know what got replaced, but unfortunately where things got connected and all that, I would say there's that potential with any older structure, any of the pipes that are in the walls could bust at any time. Unfortunately, we don't really have a mechanism to evaluate them.
So you can't really get ahead of this.
No, unfortunately not. Without tearing up walls. Yeah.
Now, with the fund that we had set aside for building repair and what I'm talking about, the special fund that we wanted to create,
Right.
would
Yes.
that kind of stuff be covered under that?
Generally speaking, yes. So really, with that repair reserve fund that we're putting out to the voters, anything, in essence, anything that is not typically an annual expense or routine expense can be covered.
Okay.
Like replacing the generator, or we're talking about upgrading our technology infrastructure. It's been 12, 13 years with the Wi-Fi signals, the switches and all that. We've gotten a quote, and a good portion of that can be funded through E-rate. It's a government funding. We budget 109,000 of it. We have to pay just 30% of that. The quote that came back to replace all of our network switches and really upgrade our network infrastructure was about $190,000. So that would fall under the repair reserve accounts, because it's not something, it's a one-time deal that you probably will have to do again for another 10 years.
Right. I just want to make sure that, and I hope that the voters also understand that with the old building comes the liabilities of things aging out
Right.
unexpectedly. And that's one of the reasons why we want to create that fund, is to have that emergency. ready to go.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at the big ticket items, we're talking about a $3,000 repair for the generator down at the elementary school. I mentioned the generator up here gets serviced every year, but could go at any time. And that's a $60,000 purchase. It's not something we can budget for. That repair reserve accounts would use, things like that.
Yep.
Wasn't it also too, this kind of stems from when we did the bond for the repair, to upgrade the school, that it was actually less than what we wanted, right? Originally, it was like, they just picked a number under 20 million,
Yes.
'Cause it sounded better?
19.1.
but actually there was a couple more million that actually needed to have been done.
I think when you look at the original, I think when the original wish list was put together, it was over 20 million.
Yes.
And a couple of things got removed quickly. I know the last two projects, additional storage space up here was part of the original list, but those were, both times was quickly removed just because of trying to keep it under 20 million. Those are the things. I think 2 projects ago, they were looking to put tennis courts down in the Shipman Youth Center. That was an item that got removed when they were looking at the price tag. I think originally the track was part of it originally and got removed. Then later on, it was bonded separately. Got a lot of outside investments into that track, I believe.
Okay, I was just kind of wondering if we could have drawn a line from that decision to another reason why we need the reserve account.
Yes, and one other thing that I can think of that we've thrown around is replacing the auditorium lights here. They're old, antiquated, and going with LED lights and stuff like that. It made the original list of the capital project, but it never went beyond that because it was seen as a luxury, if you will. But I think at this point it's becoming more of a necessity when it comes to it. It's going to be energy efficient and things like that. So we're trying to look at quotes there to replace the lighting in the
Okay.
auditorium. Not like not the house lights, but the stage lighting and all that. They're probably 20 plus years old, if not older. I guess you can't even get some of the parts to repair these things to go down. But that's a hefty price tag.
Repair, under the repair, yeah, okay.
That would fall under the repair.
Repair,
reserve
yeah,
account as
correct.
well.
Okay,
First quote I saw was about $140,000 to replace the lights.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Mr. Wood, thank you. Mr. Seymour, you are up with superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. And please let me know if you have a hard time hearing me at any point. So even though we're just coming back from break, lots of things have been happening and are planned to take place over the next several weeks. The district is partnering with local school districts to host a Ukrainian food drive from now until May 16th. Donations of non-perishable food items will be collected in both of our instructional buildings. They'll be transported to Albany, thanks to the efforts of Dimitri Feld, and they will be then transported from Albany to Europe. So non-perishable items for the Ukrainian people are certainly welcome in both of our facilities. The high school students are looking forward to attending a flamenco show at the Lake Placid Center for the Arts on Friday of this week as part of some of their enrichment for Spanish class. Students will witness a fully choreographed production done by the nation's most prominent flamenco and Spanish dance company. The district has seen an increase in the number of students attending this year who are designated as ESL, or English as a Second Language students. We've recently partnered with the Regional Bilingual Education Resource Network out of Albany to provide training to our staff on how best to support these students. And so far, these efforts are being very well met. This week, the grade 3 through 8 math exams are taking place. The administration of these tests will provide us with really the most comprehensive look at student proficiency in math since prior to the pandemic. Students are graded on a 1 to 4 scale on these exams. Scores of 3 and 4 are considered to be within the proficient range. The last snapshot that we have of our student performance in math on the grade 3 through 8 exams goes back to 2018, 2019. And during that examination period, 35% of our students were within the 3 and 4 proficient range. That's compared to the state average of 49%. So this is certainly a growing edge for our district prior to the pandemic, and providing math intervention and support will be an ongoing priority area for the district. We wish all of our students great luck in their assessments over the next couple of days. And when we receive the results of the 3 through 8 math and ELA tests, that will provide quite a bit of helpful information to the district. First of all, that will set up our RTI tiers for our students. That will determine whether a student needs to have in-class support, skill building tier 2 support, or small group instruction tier 3 support based on how they score on the exams. Typically, what we're hoping to see is 80% of our students being within the level 1 RTI proficiency, 80% of our students receiving the instruction that they need in the classroom. Then we see an additional, in an ideal situation, 15% of our students being categorized as level 2 RTI, needing some in-class support and some pull-out support. And then a tier 3 RTI, where students would receive substantial support, would really only be 5% of our student population when we know that we are operating in an ideal scenario. So certainly we're looking forward to getting a read on how our students are doing in math. And we're planning some professional development for our staff to focus specifically on intervention, on specific strategies for RTI over the course of the summer. As I said, this will be a major academic focus area for the district over the next several years. This Thursday, the district will hold its first of 4 strategic plan core team sessions. The focus of the core team is to review survey responses, review data, share perspectives, and make recommendations to the board on a revised mission statement, a vision statement, and goals. At the conclusion of these core team meetings, the board will be presented with the work of the team for consideration and perhaps for approval. The next phase of that plan will involve focus teams from different backgrounds to create specific goals, action steps, and measures of success. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the members of the core team for the donation of their time and their expertise. Representing the Teachers Association, Keith Clark and Amy Kramer. From the CSEA unit, Jonathan Wright and Amanda Cash. From the community and the parent representation, Mark Galvin and Mindy Godot. Our board representative, Martha Pritchard Spear, and all of the administrative team for their willingness to participate and lead throughout this process. On the athletics front, spring sports, as Dana mentioned, are truly in full swing. We have an impressive array of sports taking place this season. There are typically 12 different practices or matches, games happening every evening. So a lot of care and coordination goes into the scheduling and for the provision of transportation. Just want to reach out and especially thank our athletic director, John Burdick, and our transportation director, Nikki Corson, for their aptitude in managing all of these varying needs. The enrollment period for our universal pre-K program hosted at St. Agnes for all students age 4 residing in Wilmington and Lake Placid is now open. There will be an open house at St. Agnes School on May 3rd at 5 p.m. for all interested families. Plans are also underway for an author visit at the middle high school on May 17th. Author and illustrator Victoria Jameson will be present to provide an art workshop, a presentation, and a book signing for our students. Ms. Jameson is the author of 3 books for middle school age students. She's a recipient of the Noble Honor and a National Book Award finalist. Special thanks to Caitlin Patnode for working to arrange for this opportunity for students. And that is my report for today.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Seymour, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Information for the board, there's several items in board docs, the extracurricular account ending March 31st. There's 2 documents pertaining to open meeting law from NYSBA. Then there's a NYSBA resolution kit. I couldn't open that, Karen. I was going to give you a call, but anybody else? Could anybody get into that? Okay. And then there's the Northeast Regional Information Center copier purchase in there as well. Any questions, comments, discussion on these items?
The open meeting law, do we
Yes.
have to take action on that to adopt it? Or is it being handed down and that's?
I interpret it as being handed down as a ruling. Not unlike when we started the process of virtual meetings.
I will say that we do meet all of those requirements.
If you go to the second one in our public content, and you open that up, there is a link to the resolution kit.
Okay.
in that-
Right here.
Okay,
in that content.
thank you. Okay, linking goals with agenda items. I'll throw in I think by virtue of the fence being a special education requirement, looking at goal 1, bullet 6. And English as a second language would be goal 1, bullet 4. Any others that? Looking through the minutes or looking through your notes. It's getting to be that time of year when we look at our goals for achieving or meeting those goals. So.
I would say expose students to different cultures with the
Right.
dance.
No, not the dance. No, that's
That's the flamenco
Yep.
dance.
yeah. So that's
What are you saying?
I don't know which bullet it is because there's a page break there. Is that 5th? Goal 1, 5th bullet, expose
Okay.
students with different cultures and experiences.
yes, it is. Thank you. Anyone else before we move on? Discussion phase of the meeting. First up is the super eval. Hopefully you've taken the opportunity to read what Mr. Seymour has inserted in the executive content of this portion. If you have not, please do so. He has some explanations there that I found helpful. Also, Karen has included the dates of when things are due. So we'll be looking at prior to the 10th. I believe Mr. Seymour will get his self-evaluation, and then on the 10th we will expect the board to come up with their portion, and then we'll be reviewing that on the May 24th. Correct?
Yes.
Are there any questions regarding super eval? Has everybody used it before? Okay. It's a little overwhelming, so I say eat the elephant in small bites. That way it doesn't get so overwhelming that you're just not putting a whole lot of thought into it. So great. Any discussion on that? If you have any questions, Karen is your contact for super eval. So dress code. There's a request to put to rediscuss or discuss the addition of changing the dress code again, and to amend number 5 regarding hats in the middle school, since we tackled the high school. So would anybody like to start this discussion?
I will.
Oh, good.
I asked to have it put up on the agenda. After thinking about it after the last meeting, we're all in the same building, middle school, high school. So is enforcement going to be an issue? Keeping track to who's in middle school, who's in high school. We got substitutes that are in and out that don't know all the students every day. Would it just be easier if the whole school was under the same dress code for the hat wearing? So.
Anyone else?
Can we answer my question? I was gonna ask who requested that I put it in there.
Okay. I'll include my comments. My decision to vote yes at the last meeting was based upon the committee's recommendation that was put together, the ad hoc committee. So again, I return to that same committee who has advised against hats in the middle school for various reasons. I'm going to go as far as to ask the board to proceed with the current dress code that we voted on last time and see how it pans out, how the process works through the remainder of the year, and seek feedback from the building administrators, students, all the stakeholders, and at that time discuss expanding it into the middle school. That's where I'm standing with this. Anyone else?
No, I don't think we should revisit it, because was part of the reason why I went with it too. It seemed to be that the committee had come up with this. There was all this public input, lots of hours spent, and we were simply reconsidering our decision based on data that had come in. So this seems to me, I don't think I would vote for it, I guess. I say yes because maybe somebody else will convince me, I mean, I don't feel that strong about it, but.
Well, it's just a question, with basically you got half a building, and we do have options of, we could act on it now. We can, because we review the dress code every year, act on it this summer when we revisit it and get more input. It's just, Plus it brings people to our meetings, so.
Yeah, so if we big, you gotta drag it out for sure. We'll reconsider that as well, yeah.
Okay. Any other comments?
I agree with what you said. I think we should just let it rest. See what happens.
As I say, after our action items, we do have another opportunity for the public to speak if that's required. And that's just what this was a discussion. So any other input? Next up is meeting minutes. That's under the consent. Personnel. We do have a personnel consent agenda. The recommended action is to approve the following items, which are included in the personnel consent agenda. 6B, teaching staff long-term appointment. 6C, creation of a position. 6D, non-teaching staff appointment. May I have a motion to accept this personnel consent agenda? Thank you, Joan.
Second. Oh, let Martha. Alrighty.
Martha, second.
No problem.
Everybody all set with those items, or would you like anything taken out? If hearing nothing, please vote.
Just very excited about the community schools coordinator position being created.
And I might add, if you did not see it, there is a nice job description in board docs. So, thank you, Mr. Seymour, for that.
Well done.
We have six.
Yep, 6 yes,
Six,
sorry.
yes. There are no, so the consent agenda passes. Let's see. Go into the other action items. And first up is Teacher Appreciation Week. The recommended action is motion to recognize May 1st through May 7th, 2022 as Teacher Appreciation Week. I may add that there's a link there with that'll lead you to an information page on Teacher Appreciation Week. May I have a motion to accept this recommended action?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Any discussion? Being none, please vote.
Six yes.
Motion passes 6 yes, 0 no. Next is School Principals Day. Recommended action is a motion to acknowledge May 1st as School Principals Day. May I have a motion to accept this?
Yes.
Thank you, Martha. Second. Thank you, Joan. Any discussion? Again, there's a link there that you may go to see the teacher or Principal Appreciation Day.
Six yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6 yes, 0 no. Next up is the National School Nurse Day. Recommended action is motion to recognize May 11th, 2022 as National School Nurse Day. May I have a motion to accept this acknowledgement?
Yes.
Thank you, Liam. Second. Daniel, any discussion? I will say it for the third time. There is a link there that leads you to the National School Nurse Day.
I don't know, principals and nurses only get a day.
They get a day.
Teachers
I-
get a week.
I noticed that.
A heartfelt thank you to all students, principals and nurses, school nurses.
Thank you. Motion passes 6 yes, 0 no. Next, we come to the approval of the Lake Placid Central Schools 2022-2023 budgets. Recommended action is, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the Lake Placid Central Schools Administration Program and Capital Budgets for the 2022-2023 school year, totaling $20,911,744 as presented. May I have a motion, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Martha. Any discussion?
Yes. Dana, can I ask a question about the notice mailer? The proposed budget and the contingency budget, the total amount,
Yeah,
is it supposed to be the same?
yes.
And then the next line below that, it says increase or decrease in one column.
Yeah, there's no difference between the two. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, because there was no difference in the first line versus the second line. You got the 20,911,000 for both of them.
Yeah.
And then right under that, you had the increase or decrease for the 22-23 school year. One is 180,000 and the other 0.
That's the difference from the previous year. So when you look at it, it's the 21-22, 22-23. If you look at it last year, the difference was 180,000. We kept the tax levy the same.
Right,
We could have had it up to, so the difference was $180,000.
right,
That is from last year's information.
okay. But why is it 0 in the next
Because
box?
the proposed budget and the contingency budget are the same. The tax levy is going to remain the same between the two.
Okay,
The tax levy is not changing, whether it's the budget or the contingent budgets. The tax levy is remaining the same.
okay.
Additional questions?
No, that was a good question. Because naturally someone's gonna come in and if their property value has gone up, we'll be in here. And we could say the levies hasn't gone up.
Well, actually, yeah, because right now the
Wrong
proposed
door.
tax levy is actually going to be lower than last year.
Right.
But the
Right.
assessed value, we won't know
Yeah, yeah.
until August. Right.
And we don't have the assessment. We don't get to deal with the assessment.
Yes.
Correct. So
Every year I want to put that on the record.
we won't know that until early August as to what the assessed value is. But right now, the projection, the proposed is actually going to be going down 1 cent. 687 versus 686 is what it looks like for the tax levy. But in terms of the budget itself, it's remaining the same. We had something similar, in terms of the difference. Because with the contingency budgets, you have to go off of last year's tax levy. So last year's tax levy didn't change. This year's tax levy is slightly different, but the budget itself remains the same. We don't have to decrease the contingency budgets if the normal budget fails. We can keep it the same
Okay,
because the tax levy is actually technically lower than last year, but it's a 0 amount.
okay.
Anyone else?
Six yes.
So the budget is approved, 6 yes, 0 no. Next up is the Board of Cooperative Education Services, BOCES administrative budget for 2022 and 2023. Recommended action is be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby adopts the administrative budget for the Board of Cooperative Education Services of the sole supervisory district of Franklin, Essex, and Hamilton counties in the amount of $2,817,891 for the 2022-2023 school year. May I have a motion to accept this budget?
So moved.
Thank you, Martha. Second,
Yes.
thank you, Liam. Discussion. Recall at last meeting, that's gone up significantly, correct? Because of the capital expenditures. We're on delay for 3 years.
Yeah, I think it was 3 years because of their capital projects.
Correct.
Yes.
We're given a break for 3 years, so that's why it seems like a
I
big
think it
jump.
was what, little like, a little over 4% in the last couple of years. Administrative, on the administrative side, it
Right.
was like 1%.
So that's improved significantly from conversations 6-7 years ago, where the administrative budget was going up 8-10% compared to what we were dealing with. So the expenses seem to be in check on the administrative side. So that's nice to see.
6 yes.
6 yes. 0 no, so the motion passes. Thank you. Resolution for the election of the Board of Cooperative Education Services Board of Education. Recommended action, be it resolved, the Board of Education casts its votes in the annual election of members of the Franklin Essex Hamilton Board of Cooperative Education Services for the persons indicated on the attached budget. May I have a motion to?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Daniel. I'll finish my sentence. To accept the 4 candidates, one of which is Martha. We thank you very much for graciously volunteering, as it was put. And I assure you, you will find it to be extremely educational. And I mean that sincerely.
I believe you.
So, and if you need any, I guess,
For what you offer.
superficial explanations on anything after spending, I'm not sure how many years on that board, just give me a call. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Martha, for doing it. It's really important that we have somebody from the board. If not, we have I was just gonna add on the last part of we voted for the budget, that we have the least amount of say in that. In the BOCES budget, essentially. So at least having one of our members on the board gives us some more leverage over it.
And additional explanations.
Yeah.
Okay. So the resolution passes 6 yes, 0 no. Donation acceptance, G is consent. We do thank the LEAP grant. Donation acceptance, H is also consent. Community Trust Fund, we thank. Education, special education, that's under consent as well, and there was no packet for next meeting. So I'm not sure if that means there is not a packet, which I'm sure there is, because it's the time of year for those.
The big packet.
Yes, so. So at this point, we'll go into the good of the cause, which is our second opportunity for public to address the board. I read the rules and regulations and guidelines before, so I will not go through that again with you.
You don't
but-
want to read it one more time?
No, I think I'll pass. Is there anybody that would like to speak?
I did not receive it.
Okay. With that said, we enter the adjournment phase of the meeting. The next meetings and locations are listed there. Please take note that there's a budget hearing on the 10th of May. And then we do have an adoption meeting of the budget results, which take place within 24 hours, correct? 24 hours of the election. So we will be meeting on May 18th to adopt the budget results. Old agenda topic with nothing listed. New agenda topics. Anybody? Okay. At this point, there's a proposed executive session. Recommended action is to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing negotiations. May I have a motion to enter executive session?
Yes.
Thank you. You got those, Karen?
Trying to joke.
Uh,
I just want to do those.
Yes.
Everyone say yes.
Yes. So we will now be entering executive session. Want to thank you all very much for your attention and thank you for coming. We'll see you again in a couple weeks, right?
Thank you.
But just randomly, it's the only thing. Trust
I know.
me.